Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Rodrick Rules, and I forgot to do my hair. Oh, man. Anyway, this is the Disney Plus original animated version of the series of live-action films. I don't know if this was like originally something that 20th Century Fox had, and they decided, hey, we're going to make them into animated films now under the Disney banner. But however that worked, it worked. It's in 2022. It's an hour and 17 minutes long. So there is a live action version of this same exact story. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know how comparable it is. It's sort of, since it's an hour and 17 minutes, it is like a full single story, but it feels like it's broken into smaller stories that build towards the final act. Maybe it could have been 4 episodes of something of a TV series if they wanted to, depending on how they broke it up. But it's a film, and for fans, of course, of the book, who created this? Did I not look this up? Come on. It's a book. It's a book series for kids, and it's obviously our hero Greg Heffley keeps a diary of things, and it comes into play in the story here. This film is, while most of the stories that we have involving Greg, it does involve him butting heads with his older teenage brother, at least old enough to drive. He has a van and a band that is called Loaded Diaper, spelled horribly wrong, but yeah, who cares about spelling in rock and roll? So Greg, this is all about his struggle with his brother, kind of looking up to him, even though he knows his brother is kind of a washout and he's cool to a certain degree, but he's also kind of a jerk to him a lot. He takes advantage of his little brother, and there's always that kind of conflict between brothers in most homes at a time, even if it's not a long-standing thing. Sometimes it's really contentious, but in this case, we see Greg wanting Rodrick to teach him things, to sort of help him be cool, help him understand girls, maybe, rock and roll, things like that. And, Greg's only buddy is his neighbor Rowley, his best friend Rowley, and Rowley is the uncoolest kid you've ever seen. He makes Milhouse on The Simpsons look cool. Yeah, so that gives you an idea of just how uncool Rowley is. But he's a sweet kid, and he means well, and there's a reason why they're friends. And often Greg has a problem sometimes with being the cooler of the two, not by much, but even in his eyes, he tends to. There's usually a struggle between him and Rowley is usually oblivious of it, where he's almost ready to betray his own best friend in order to get something he wants. So Greg isn't always blameless. He's not always a victim of Roderick's abuses. He's kind of sometimes takes advantage of his friend in pretty much the same way that Rodrick takes advantage of him. And Rowley loves him unconditionally. He's a sweet kid, and it's easy to laugh at him, but you know what? If we had more Rowleys in the world, I think we'd have some more empathy, more innocence, I think, for the kids. I don't know. Yeah, they're like 12 or something. I have no idea how old they are in this. I mean, because again, this is not the live action one. The animation is very close to the original artwork that's used in the original book. So that's kind of helps people who maybe grew up with this or about starting to read these books get a real kick out of seeing that art come to life in this film. So that's kind of neat. So we get Brady Noon as Greg, Ethan William Childress as Rowley, and Hunter Dillon as Rodrick. So we get them in a number of scenarios where their trust and the conflict comes into play. When parents go away for their anniversary, they have a little brother, but the baby brother gets sent off to stay with grandma. But there, the boys, two older boys, are left to take care of the house themselves. And of course, immediately once they leave, Rodrick wants to have a party. Now, this is a teenage party that is very innocent by real teenage party, levels in real world, because this is Disney. So, there's no alcohol and, crazy stuff. It's kids skateboarding off the dining room table and just doing some crazy, non-illegal things, but enough to get them in trouble with their parents. And of course, after doing all the work, I'm not going to spoil everything for you, but after doing all the work to get an idea of what Roderick's like, after doing all the work, Greg and Rowley get locked in the basement and aren't allowed to experience the party at all because they're not cool enough. And and so eventually there's a way that will they get caught? Eventually, Greg gets a little bit of, let's say, blackmail. There's a lot of blackmail in this. There's a lot of I owe you, you owe me, but it is in this coming of age story. It's sort of having them understand each other's boundaries and understanding what they're willing to do for each other. And of course, it's going to be a happy ending. It's going to be it's going to work out in the end. It's not perfect. Again, brothers will always fight when they're kids like this, but all these films are always good, fun, coming of age stories for kids in those situations who might be living through that very same thing. Just learning how to make good choices, knowing to stick by your friends, also stick by your family in certain situations. So even when it might be detrimental to yourself in some cases. So yeah, there's lots of lessons to learn and interesting scenarios. And it's a comedy, so there's lots of craziness that ensues that is often at Greg's expense. Yeah. So, by the way, one of the other voices I wanted to mention here, Ed Asner. It's one of his last roles, other than Doug Days. He played Carl in Up. One of his last roles, I think. So that's kind of neat to see him. He plays Greg and Roderick's grandpa, where they're forced to stay with him at the home for a while when mom and dad decide to make another attempt at their anniversary dinner. So yeah, even though at that point they still don't know that things went kind of wacky. I won't spoil it for you. Again, I say definitely check out all these films. They're really good. They're really fun. And they're not made for me, but you got a teenage kid, you got a preteen kid. They should get a real kick out of it because it's good, sometimes bawdy type of humor. There's, somebody farted, and kids getting, oh no, I accidentally went into the women's room and just to clean the stuff off my pants. There's not stuff. I mean, and he gets caught, and old ladies start chasing him through the old folks' home. That kind of wackiness. So, give you an idea. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
225.
225. Come on. 225. Oh. Okay. This is a single documentary, but it's not one of those mummies and sharks and whatever, elephants and stuff kind of documentary. This is a Marvel Studios one. Almost all the 200 teens through the all the way through the mid 220s is Marvel. So if we ever get that, I'll have an idea of what we're watching next. But in this case, it's a documentary. It's a making of a show that recently premiered. Loki just started recently on Disney Plus, but the previous show that's been on Disney Plus was Secret Invasion. So we're going to be watching Marvel Studios assembled Secret Invasion, the making of Secret Invasion. So, yeah, Marvel Studios assembled the making of Secret Invasion on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that. Bye.